If all you do is network, your business is going to fail. If most businesses don't stall because of lack of activity, they stall out because people typically get focused on one activity and expect that to grow their business. Hey, I'm Donnie Bovian. I'm the CEO and founder of Success Champions Networking. And do me a favor, if you get any value out of today, please make sure you like and subscribe and comment below. It sure helps me out a lot. Oh, when I first got into business, like I didn't want to do a lot of things that it was going to require me to actually have a successful business. Like I didn't want to have to go prospect, talk to clients. I didn't want to cold call. I didn't want to kick in doors. I just somehow wanted business to magically appear so I didn't have to do the things that I didn't like doing to show up in my business. And the closest thing I could do to get to that was honestly networking. Because networking for me felt like I was doing a lot of the right actions. I mean, I was meeting with people one on one, having a bunch of different conversations. I was talking about business. I was giving people advice. People were giving me advice. And there was a lot of feedback and back and forth. And honestly, it felt like I was doing a lot of the right things, except when I looked at my bank account, like, because it just was not working. Like, I can have conversations till I'm blue in the face, but if at the end of the day I didn't get clients, then it didn't work. So I had to come up with a rhythm for me to allow me to actually get into the right conversations, bring on clients, and actually build out, enough business that I could figure out what my business was, who I was targeting, the conversations I needed to have. So I'm going to down for you today what I call the 30-30-30, which is your business development strategy and game plan that you need to be deploying in your business. Here's what I know, that most people, they are just trying to network their way there, and it's a lot of times it's the same fears I had. If I bring on too much work too fast, I will make myself miserable. I won't have freedom that I want to have. There's a lot of self-doubts that played into why I wasn't being successful and how it was showing up and how I was showing up. So 30-30-30 is a business development strategy that I still use to this day to grow my business. I think most people don't actually have a sales problem when it comes to running a company. Because sales for me really is that final conversation when you can sit across from somebody and help them figure out that if they are going to go with you or somebody else as far as how solve whatever problem it is for buying whatever you're selling. Most people can handle that conversation fairly well. It's getting to that conversation that seems to kick most but everybody's ass, and trying to find people that will actually raise their hand and say, hey, yes, I'd like to buy your stuff. Yes, I want to buy your services. That's where it gets hard, is how do you go find potentially complete strangers and get them interested in what you sell and then actually buy the things that you're selling. This is where it makes it very, very hard. So what I put together is what I figured out along the journey that got people to actually lean in, have better conversations, and set me up to have a better chance at finding clients and people to say yes to me. So here we go. The first 30% of your time needs to be spent on networking. I'm a networking guy. It makes sense, right? So 30% of your time networking. But let me explain networking. Networking is not socializing. Networking is a activity that allows you to get into conversations with people and ultimately find yourself in situations where somebody can say yes or no to your services. Okay. This is not pitching the rooms. This is not pitching everybody you're talking to. It's about, selfishly building your company through interactions and the likes. I found that if I phrase myself to networking is building other people's businesses, I'm more successful in networking as a function as a whole. So I think that if I were to sit with most people and say, let's break down everywhere you're networking, everywhere you're spending your time, likely I would eliminate 90% of the networking they're currently doing because it's not leading to any sort of ROI activity. It's just a socializing for them. So when I think about where I should be spending my time networking, I have four places that you should have or places you should be attending that will get you into the right conversations. So here they are, four places that you need to be networking. Number one, you need to be in an association filled full of either your best clients or your best referral partners. So I found over the years that if I get into associations with, really, really good people that are, and if you're just tuning in, let me know where you're calling from, where you're listening in from, where you're watching this from. So feel free to say hello. But if I get into an association that's filled with all the right people, man, I get into some great conversations. The second place you need to be networking is you should be looking at a nonprofit board. Okay. Busy isn't productive. Damn right, Ian. And good to see you, brother. So I like nonprofit boards for a couple of reasons. One, I want you to look for a nonprofit that is mission driven for you, something you actually give a shit about. Okay. And then I want you to look at the board of directors for that nonprofit. Because typically, the people who sit on a board of a nonprofit are decision makers inside of companies, right? They are people who make big decisions for companies. So they either own the business or high up in the business or they advise companies. Like they're great people to sit around. So the perfect combination is find a nonprofit that has a mission you give a damn about, and then look at their board of directors and see if those are people you want to network with. Okay. If you get that combination dialed in, I'll teach you really, really quick. This is how you get on their board. Okay. You go once you find that nonprofit, you go up to the nonprofit and say, I'd love to volunteer to help with the fundraising. Okay. And then go get part of the fundraising team and help them actually raise funds for their nonprofits. I can go into a full strategy of that, but I'll do that on another YouTube. But it is a fantastic way to really help them out. You're helping a mission you care about. You're helping them raise funds so they can do more of their vision, their mission, and you're connecting them with more people. Hey, Aaron, what's up, brother? So uh, next place you need to be networking is you need to have a weekly networking group like Success Champions Networking. If you sell B2B into the mid market space, Success Champions Networking is where you need to be. If you sell to small businesses or to consumers, maybe it's a BNI or a chamber group. If you live in small town, like your local chamber in small town is phenomenal. If you're in the big cities, don't worry about the chambers. They only care about economic development anymore, right? So, but you need one weekly group of people that are all trying to grow their businesses together. After that, the toughest one to get that I think you need to be networking, number four, is you need to have a private club. And this one I get, a lot of pushback on, but you need to have a place where you're paying membership dues and then able to get into business conversations. So this could be a business club, a golf club, a yacht club, country club. It can be a cigar club, a wine club, beer club, a poker club, right? I don't care. The combination is people are paying to be a member of it, and then business conversations can happen. So what I tell most people is on private clubs and whatnot, business conversations aren't typically had. So I want you to actually create the business conversations. I'll use a country club, and I know that may be out of some people's budgets when I say that, but imagine if you're a part of a country club, right? That country club typically has a clubhouse that serves alcohol or lunch or whatever. Go look at their calendar and see if there's a get together of people that do a happy hour and all do business trying to figure out how they help and support each other. If they don't have a happy hour, then put it on the calendar for the club. Well, once a month, hey, everybody, let's meet in the clubhouse, grab some cocktails, and just learn what everybody does for a living. Be the person that creates it inside the private club, and you'll be blown away because the person who creates the room is the person that owns the room. And it's just a monster way to actually do business, and it works really well. So, 4 places you need to be networking. You need to have an association, you need to have a nonprofit board, you need to have a weekly group like SEN, and you need to have a private club. If you get those 4 places dialed in, you're gonna be blown away by the impact on your networking overall. All right. The second 30%. The second 30% is thought leadership. We can do that. Thought leadership. Okay. So I love using this as an example because it just makes it hit home for a lot of people. Love him or hate him, most people know who Tony Robbins is. Okay. Motivational speaker, like been doing it for 40 some odd years. Okay. What most people don't know is they assume that Tony just is a motivational speaker or leader trainer. What they don't see is Tony owns like 111 companies to the tune of $7 billion. Okay. And that's just mind blowing to me that somebody can build an empire that big off a personal brand. What I ask people all the time when I'm in rooms and whatnot, and I'm like, so if Tony runs 111 companies, $7 billion, what is Tony's main job? And people are like, to president of the company, run the company, make money, blah blah blah, and they're all correct answers. But his main job is to be the face of Tony Robbins, right? His job is to keep the name Tony Robbins in front of as many people as he possibly can. If you go to tonyrobbins.com and say, I want a coach, you're not going to get Tony unless you pony up millions of freaking dollars, right? But he's built such a personal brand that is spoken about and talked about in other places, and his name gets brought up in more conversations. Hell, I'm talking about him right now, and I've never even met the freaking guy. Okay. So, thought leadership and personal branding for me intermingle. How are you getting out there and allowing people to talk about you, bring up stories about you, and lean in and tell others about you? Because I think, yeah, a personal brand is what everybody says when you're not in the room. And let's be honest, people are going to talk about us whether we like it or not. I want to make sure they're saying the right things. So, how are you showing up on social media? How are you showing up in your network? How are you putting out more content? Are you writing articles, maybe writing blogs? Are you potentially speaking on podcasts or potentially speaking on stages? What are the mechanics you're doing to actually get your name out there? The simplest strategy out of them all is you literally could just go comment on other people's posts on a consistent basis. If you're going to do nothing but a commenting strategy, then your profile needs to be really dialed in so people understand who you are and what you do. Right? You just got to get that really, really dialed in. But most people, they're sitting on the sidelines thinking, I don't want anybody to know who I am. I don't want anybody to know my personal life. And I can tell you, there's a lot of things that you can talk about and share that are within the realm of, safe business conversation. Like, I've spent, since January 23 trying to build a personal brand on LinkedIn, and it's paid off in spades because I've, curated a community of people that are just amazing out there, which has led me to be able to speak on stages. And I know stages may not be the thing you're trying to do, but it's one of the things that's on my agenda is to get on more. So that's what I'm constantly thinking through and thinking about is how do I get my name out there so others would talk about me? Like literally this Saturday night, a buddy of mine that I only met online 3 years ago, Lon Stronheim, invited me out to a private event with his community. We were, inside the Rangers ballpark and, touring around there. And then, I got to give a small speech in front of, all his people, which are 100% my people. And that all came from how I continually showed up. How do I continually teach and how I, continually, put information out there. So 30% networking, 30% thought leadership. And the last one, this is the one that everybody really gets on me about because it's the one everybody hates. You need to be doing 30% cold outreach. Okay. And cold outreach, this is everything from cold calling, door knocking, cold emailing, cold DMing, cold connecting, right? Anywhere where you're reaching out to people who have no idea who you are and you're trying to get a conversation going. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through a process that I love to do, works really well for me, and has allowed me to get into just a ton of conversations over time. Okay. And that process is really simple. I will take out a piece of paper and I will write down who I want to sell to. It's called your ideal client profile, your ICP. Okay. Who is it? I want to know if I'm selling to individuals, how old are they? How much money do they make? Are they married? I want those details. If I'm selling to companies, which is our world, right? What industry they are. And look, I don't want to pick the fight with you at a niche down. People have beat you on that plenty of times. Just pick for just this exercise one industry you want to sell and go after. Like put down the person inside the company you're going to be selling to. Okay. So let's say you're going after a manufacturing company, just to keep it really, really simple. Okay. If you look at the manufacturing company, maybe the CEO of that manufacturing company is your target of who you need to be, because that's the decision maker who buys from you. Okay. So if we take president, manufacturing company, now let's break down what other services do they buy that wouldn't compete with you. Well, now, at the top of so do it this way, draw a triangle. At the top of the triangle, put you and your industry. In the center of the triangle, put that manufacturer, that president of the company. On the bottom left and right of the triangle, what I want you to do is put down two industries that don't compete with you, but also sell into that manufacturing company. Okay. And the reason I want you to do this is because if you put those two industries down, it's going to make your cold outreach really, really, really simple. So the theory behind all this, well, it's not really theory. I know this works because it's how it's worked for me, is if you can get connected to the people who sell directly to your best clients, like people that are complementary vendors of what you sell, right? Then you can have more dynamic conversations around the clients and people you work with. So let's say, for instance, you sell, I don't know, fractional COO services. Okay, into companies. If you sell fractional COO services, then meeting fractional CMOs or fractional CROs, fractional chief operating officer, fractional chief marketing officer, fractional chief revenue officer, right? If you sell to those type of people, then what you'll find is connecting with a lot of those people that are also vendors going after the same company as you are can lead to a lot of very, very cool conversations. So if we think about it this way, if I can meet those people who already have my clients, the chance that I can build a relationship with them and then get introduced to their clients is a lot higher than meeting with a bunch of just generic people. Okay. So here's how I want you to think about your cold outreach. If you can break that down, who are the vendors that also sell to my ideal client, don't compete with me, but if I met with them, might lead to some business. If you figure those out, those become all the people that you're going to do your cold outreach to on LinkedIn. So let's say pretend you're a fractional chief operating officer, fractional COO, and getting the fractional CMOs would help your business. I want you to go to LinkedIn every day, in the search bar, type in fractional chief operating officer, hit enter, click on people, click first, or excuse me, click second and third connections, change the location to where you want to be if you want to be close to you or whatnot. Put your home city in. And then I want you to just connect with five people that are these people that are adjacent to you. So imagine you're connecting with five chief marketing officers every day, and no message with a connection, no verbiage, anything like that. What I want you to do from there is literally wait 24 hours. That next 24 hours, send five more messages out, but see the next day who's connected back with you. And the people that have connected with you, I want you to send this exact frame, this exact message custom to them. And that message is simply, hey, John, thanks for connecting. How did you get into the chief marketing officer game? So, hey, John, thanks for connecting. How did you become a fractional CMO? Okay. Just that very simple sentence, nothing big. Keep it very, very, very short, sweet, and to the point. What you're going to find is people will respond to that. Why? Because they like talking about themselves. And what you're looking for then is the person to say something back to you and start telling their story. If it's a person that you really want to network with, however they respond, as long as it's positive in nature, say, hey, that's a really cool story. I'd actually love to hear that in person. would you be up for a virtual Zoom networking call, strictly networking, nothing to pitch here, and learn a little bit more about each other? I have a 95% acceptance rate of that message of people saying, yeah, let's have that conversation. And imagine what happens to your business if you get into uh uh those type of conversations, with those people. It should ultimately lead to business. So if we recap this entire process, 30 percent of your time you should be networking. 30% of your time you should do thought leadership. 30% of your time you should do cold outreach. If you get this right, guys, this is how you build your business. This is actually a business development strategy that you can put into play. There's a lot more things we can add in here, but I want you to get this down into a way of actually making it work. And people ask me all the time, Donnie, how much time do I spend my business development activity? Year one, 90%. You need to be a whore, right? And just try and get as many conversations as you possibly can. So, whatever you determine is the amount of time you're going to work for your business, 90% of that time should be in some sort of business development activity. Okay. Years 2 and 3, it can start popping back. And ultimately, I can't tell you where you need to be. I'd have to understand a whole lot more about your company and what it is and what you do. But if you are financially not hitting the revenue goals of your company, making the money you need to be making in your company, then majority of your time needs to be spent in these three activities. And I promise if you get these dialed in, it will work and you will win. So thanks for hanging out with me. It's been a fun conversation, one of my favorite topics to really teach people. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the prompts. Feel free to send me messages. Love helping out with this stuff. Other people is key. You can't find those places from your office. Got to get out there and network and find those places. That's it, dude. And good to see you jumping on here. So, all right, guys, we are going to wrap it up with that today. I'm here every Monday having these fun teaching moments. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment below. And if I can ever help you with your business, and I can tell you, all I want is for you to win. Small business owners are the only people that can change this world. So we need you to win to help have a bigger impact. I'm going to get out of here. Love you, mean it. See you. Bye.